my first video, and you should have, then you would know that I am getting prepared to go to Miami and have a BBL. So the last video I did, which was actually my first ever YouTube video, I uploaded, please ignore the pup, she is ridiculous. The last video I did, I discussed with you all, it was around my 30-day mark. I think it was like exactly 30 days. And I went through like all my BBL supply list items, what I'm personally doing to get myself ready. So we talked about like, you know, how I'm taking these different vitamins, how I've added chlorophyll water to my everyday consumption, how I drink green smoothies every day to up like my different blood levels. And since then, I've actually had to get my blood work done. So for me personally, when I'm watching these videos, I've never seen, okay, let's try that again. So me personally, while watching these videos, I never really, Lord Jesus. Un momento. 1 second. Let me just put her in another room. Okay, third time is a charm. So for me personally, when watching these different videos, I never really see any girls talk about, well, not talk about, but talk in depth, like the different requirements there are as far as blood work getting done to prep for the BBL procedure. So I just wanted to go through everything I went through. I printed out all my documents so that I could physically show you guys the different things I had to do in order. At exactly my 60-day mark, I was emailed a list containing different labs and requirements that I had to get done. I was also emailed the medical clearance paperwork, and it was exactly at 60 days. And the coordinator also let me know that, you know, I would be getting like 60-day labs and I would be getting 30-day labs, and that they were slightly different. So for the 60-day labs, I had to get a CBC done, which is a complete blood cell count. And what that complete blood cell count does is it gives your surgeon insight to like your blood cells and how they're operating, etc. So it gives them insight to the white blood cells and also the red blood cells. And this is pretty important because like white blood cell counts being off can indicate so many different things. It can indicate like an underlying medical condition, like, hey, cancer. It can indicate some type of infection. So doctor wants to see your white blood cell counts to make sure that you're all healthy and you're good prior to going to surgery. And then also it takes a look at your red blood cell count, and it gives the provider different information about your red blood cells. So, you know, the size of your red blood cells, how many red blood cells you have floating throughout your body, you know, how much iron is being captured by those red blood cells, etc. And of course, the red blood cells, using the hemoglobin, is what gets oxygen all throughout your body. And of course, if you're going through surgery, the last thing you want is to have a lack of oxygen flowing through your body, especially when it comes to like the main organs, you know, heart, liver, brain, etc. We don't want any lack of oxygen. So it's really important for you to have a really good red blood cell count and have a really good, specifically hemoglobin count, so that the doctor can ensure that during your surgery there won't be any issues, and then after your surgery, because you bleed so much, that you won't have any issues as well. So normal ranges, most doctors want you to be somewhere between 12 and up. They will accept you if you're between 11.5 and 11.9, but most surgeons are requiring you to have cell savers if your levels are that low. Anything below 11.5, at least in the US, the doctors aren't going to touch you, and I think that's a really good thing personally. Like I said, again, you want to make sure that your hemoglobin levels are as high as they possibly can be going into surgery, and anything lower than 11.5 is dangerous levels. You know, you see girls that are going into surgery with like the lower levels, like 12 and a little bit below that, and you hear so many stories about them having issues passing out, about them needing blood transfusions, etc. Your hemoglobin getting too low can actually be deadly. So like I said, you just don't want your levels to be too low. So they actually get a CBC, complete blood cell count to see to get information about your red blood cells and your white blood cells for that reason. In addition to that, they also do the CMP, And this is the complete metabolic panel. Now what this panel is basically looking at, they're looking at different chemicals that are like in your blood, just kind of see like what's going on with your chemical balance. Most importantly though, they're looking at different chemicals in your blood that detect like liver function and kidney function. The kidneys and the liver, they work really hard to detoxify your body. And so looking at the how your liver is functioning prior to surgery, just making sure that after you come out of surgery, your body can get rid of the toxins it's supposed to. Your body is able to take on being hydrated the way it's supposed to, etc. You also have the coagulation panel that has to be run, and that's your PT, your INR, and your APTT. And basically what this does is it lets your doctor know how long it takes for your blood to clot. So we're having a major surgery, there's hella blood. Bleeding out, you don't want to happen. You bleed out and that can definitely end up being deadly. So having an idea of how long it takes for your blood to actually clot allows the doctors to see like if you are even a good candidate for this surgery. I took down some normal ranges because I always see in the surgery groups with girls asking like what are the normal ranges. So your PT is basically how long it takes for your blood to clot. Normal ranges are between 11 and 13.5 seconds. INR is also like basically determining how long it takes for your blood to clot. It just uses a different form of measurement. And then the normal range for that is usually between 0.8 and 1.1 seconds. And then APTT, again, another mechanism used to determine how long it takes your blood to clot, but they test different coagulation factors, and the normal range for that is between 25 to 35. Now, in my personal experience, I haven't seen it where they cancel you because your numbers are slightly off. I'm gonna go through my numbers and I'll tell you how like some of my numbers were lower than what they should have been, and that I was perfectly fine. We'll get to that in a second. I want to completely go through all the different blood tests that are required. You'll also be tested, your THS, which is your thyroid stimulating, your TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone, is also being monitored. Doctors are making sure that we aren't having any hypo or hyperthyroidism. Your A1C is being tested. Your blood sugars are being tested to make sure that we're not having any patients that are diabetic, and if we are, is their diabetes control. And the same thing with hypo or hyperthyroidism. Not saying that you can't have either one of those conditions, but your condition needs to be stabilized, usually by medication, diet changes, etc. Hep C. Hepatitis C is a condition that attacks the liver. Again, the liver is one of those organs that works really, really hard at detoxifying the body. Prior to going into surgery, you definitely want to make sure that you have good liver function. I'm personally unaware if they will operate on you if you have Hep C or not. That's definitely outside of my wheelhouse. I'm just saying that they are running this test to get an idea of how your liver is doing health-wise, and to make sure that you're healthy. Then HIV also is a condition that attacks the immune system. So you're gonna go through a crazy surgery. Your immune system needs to be top-notch. We don't want any infections. We don't want anything deadly that can happen, of course. So just making sure that you don't have this condition going in to surgery to just confirm whether or not you're a good candidate. Again, not 100% sure if they operate on patients who have HIV. I work in the pharmaceutical realm. I see so many of these different medications where you can like really live a normal life with HIV. So many different of these medications where you are stabilized, where the HIV is damn near undetectable in your blood. So I'm quite sure that if your levels are at a certain number, that they will operate on you, but I can't confirm nor deny that. They also do a urinalysis. Urinalysis is being used to again look at how your kidneys and your livers are functioning. They're making sure that you're not having like any kidney infections, any UTIs, making sure that both your kidney and your liver function appropriately. And again, your kidneys and your liver are working really, really hard to detoxify the body. We want to make sure those are in tip-top shape prior to going into surgery. And then also a pregnancy test. Of course, we know why can't be pregnant having this type of surgery. Mamas, congratulations. If you took your pregnancy test prior to surgery and you found out that you were pregnant, maybe come back after the baby. Now, your 30-day labs are slightly different. For the 30-day labs, all you really need is your CBC, your CMP, that coagulation panel I was talking about. So that's your PTT, your INR, your APTT. a pregnancy test, and then a urinalysis, and that's really all of the labs that you basically need to get for your 30 days. So for me personally, for my 60-day labs, I felt as though all I really wanted to know was how fast my blood clots and my hemoglobin levels, because I felt as though those two items could potentially cause issues with getting my surgery. Personally, I see my doctor every year for my annual, so I know that my liver is okay. I know I don't have HIV. I know I don't have hepatitis. You know, I know my kidneys and my liver is functioning appropriately. Like, I know that my health is overall really good. So for me, I just needed to know where my hemoglobin levels were, and I needed to know how fast my blood clotted. So for my 60-day labs, those are the only labs I did. So I did the CBC, and I also did the coagulation panel. And for my personal results, my hemoglobin, so naturally, let me just go back. I have a sickle cell anemia trait, not the actual disease, but the trait. So my hemoglobin levels tend to run on the lower side. Usually when I get blood work done annually, I'm usually around like the 12 mark. Knowing that I was going into surgery and knowing that I was going to experience a lot of blood loss, of course that comes with the territory, I wanted to make sure that my personal hemoglobin levels were as high as humanly possible. So prior to doing my 60-day labs, I was taking the Hemoplex, the Floridex, drinking orange juice, not taking vitamin C tablet, but actually drinking orange juice. What else did I take? I took Hemoplex, Floridex, folic acid. I think just those. I was taking those vitamins to get my blood levels up. In addition to that, I was also drinking chlorophyll water every single day. In addition to that, I was drinking green smoothies. And the green smoothies had spinach, and that is like what has a lot of iron in it. So I was making sure that my spinach consumption was really high. I was drinking green smoothies. I was eating spinach salads, etc. Because again, I wanted my hemoglobin as high as possible. So at my 60-day mark, my hemoglobin was like a 2.6 or 2.9, one or the other. I can't exactly remember. And then my coagulation panel was one that I was a little concerned about. I'm not gonna lie. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. Okay, so no, my coagulation panel was perfectly fine. But in my red blood cell counts, I found out that my red blood cell count was a little off. Like the size of my red blood cells was coming up on the lower range. Basically saying that on average, my red blood cells are a lot, well, not a lot, but slightly smaller than what they should be. And so when I saw that, I started freaking out because I'm thinking to myself like, oh my God, this is probably the sickle cell anemia trait popping up. Am I gonna get canceled, etc., etc. But I literally took a screenshot of this. I sent it to my surgical coordinator, and I was like, hey, I'm freaking out. Is this going to potentially cancel me? Like, please give me direction on what I need to do, etc. And she basically emailed me back like, girl, it's only like 3 points off. You're perfectly fine. You won't get canceled. So that made me feel so much better. But just to let you guys know that for my coagulation factor, so like the PTT, I let you guys know that that average was like 23 between 35 seconds. Actually, I was literally at 23, so I was good there. For the INR, I believe I said it was 0.8. Let me go back to my notes. Yeah, for the INR, I told you guys it was 0.8, between 0.8 and 1. My INR was exactly at 1. And then for the PT, the normal was, on my labs, it says normal was between 9 and 11. Mine was exactly at 10.3. So I was in normal range for everything else except for when it came to discussing the size of my actual red blood cells. So I freaked out for a second. I emailed my surgical coordinator. She emailed me back immediately and was like, no, girl, you're fine. And so that's one thing I would really suggest with dealing with these surgical centers. I always see complaints about them not answering their phones and them not texting back. The fax is not working, etc. Personally, I didn't have to call, I didn't have to text. I emailed and I was receiving responses like ASAP. The longest response it took for her to give me was when I emailed her like on a Saturday afternoon, and she didn't get back to me until first thing Monday morning. But I always received a response. So my suggestion to you all is know your surgical center's communication preferences. So if your surgical center is like crazy busy, they get hella calls, maybe calling isn't the smart thing to do. Maybe you need an email address, you know, maybe you don't want to text, maybe you want to actually call. So that's my suggestion. I'm just saying, you know, you don't have to do it. It's definitely up to you. But my suggestion is, same thing with the fax. If you know, if you're on these surgery pages, you're seeing everybody and their mother complaining about the surgical center claiming that they never received their fax, then why are you faxing it? Email a PDF copy. Like, make your life easier. Don't stress yourself out is all I'm saying. Like, know the clinic's know the surgical center's communication preferences and go with that. Like, stop trying to do your own thing. Like, why make your life even harder? So when I did all my labs and stuff, I did the 60 days. I only did the 2 tests, like I said. But then at my 30 days exactly, I went to my PCP and I did like all of the labs. So you can do the complete opposite, where you can do all the labs on your 60 day, and on your 30 day only do the main ones over, which, like I told you, is the CBC, the CMP, the PCT, the INR, the APT, the pregnancy test, and the urine sample. You can do it that way. My preference was to do only the 2 for the 60 day because I knew I was paying for those labs out of pocket. And speaking of that, shout out to Jason's Health. On Jason's Health, you literally can order your own labs. The 2 labs that I had to get cost me like $60. It was super cheap. When I put all of the labs on Jason's Health to see like what it would be if I decided to pay out of pocket, it was like $150. Like, it was super cheap going through Jason's Health. When I looked at like just going to Quest or just looking to go to LabCorp without using Jason's Health, I think Quest was like $380. I want to say LabCorp was like almost $400. I don't know why going through Jason's Health gives you such a great discount, but I'm just saying, ladies, if you are getting your blood work done and you are not using insurance, use Jason's Health. And so now I step off my soapbox. So at my exact 30-day mark, went to my provider. I had my labs drawn. She also did my EKG. And then she went through like my medical clearance paperwork. We talked about like my medical history, conditions, any other medications I'm on. She basically did like a physical to check all like my motor functions, etc., etc. Basically said that I was good to go. She would fill out my paperwork and we would go from there. And then I went to the hospital and had a chest x-ray done. My insurance covered it 100%. I want to say, if I'm not even gonna lie, I don't remember how much it would have been had I not used insurance, but my insurance covered it 100%, so I was good there. And then I had to play the waiting game. So my labs literally came back the next day. My chest x-ray came back the next day. My EKG was done real time. I just had to wait for my provider to basically review everything, finish out my medical clearance paperwork, sign it, and then fax it off to the doctor. So between Monday and Friday of that week, all of that was done, and unfortunately anything didn't get over to my surgical center. Monday, I called the doctor's office to follow up with them, didn't receive a phone call back. Tuesday, I called them and they tried to make me leave a voicemail again, and I hopped in my car and I went to my provider's office and I'll let them know like, hey, I'm following up. Where's my medical clearance paperwork? Like, today is like my actual deadline. Like, this is 3 weeks today. I cannot wait another day. I need my paperwork today. They apologized. Oh, we're sorry. It'll be done by the end of the business day, etc., etc. I said, okay. I went home. I'm gonna say like 3 hours later, they called me and said, hey, your surgical paperwork is completed. We're faxing your surgery center now. I said, can I come pick up a copy? She said, of course, that's perfectly fine. So got back in my car, went to my PCP's office, picked up my copy, and they sent off their part to the surgical center. I kid you not, maybe like 2 hours later, I received an email from my surgical coordinator basically saying, hey, I received everything except for your EKG. Child, I already had it though. Like, I had it. So I went and picked up that copy. So as soon as she said that to me, I took this and I took pictures of it with my phone, And I have an app called Genius Scan, and basically what Genius Scan does, it converts pictures to PDF. Now, they specifically said that they do not accept pictures of any of your lab work, any of your medical clearance, your EKG. They didn't accept pictures of any of that. So I went into Genius Scan, I took this little EKG, converted it into a PDF, and I sent it to my surgical coordinator. She had a response for me within 20 minutes, said I was approved, got my hooray letter later on that afternoon, and I was there to go. And that was basically it. Yeah. As of right now, I'm 12 days out from surgery. I'm extremely excited. I feel relieved that I've been cleared. And I look forward to bringing you along with me on this journey. I hope that I didn't ramble too much. I'm still new at this, still getting used to talking to a camera. I'm usually used to like talking to a room full of people, especially with like the field that I work in. So I'm really excited. I have like so many plans for this YouTube channel, and it's way beyond like my BBL journey. I want to do the BBL journey. I want to do like the stuff that interests me in fashion. I want to do the stuff that interests me in photography. I want to talk about I'm a black girl. I work in corporate America. I want to talk about black women in corporate America and how you can be a black woman in corporate America if you choose to, or how if you're a black woman in corporate America and you're struggling in any way, I got you. I'm gonna have all the tips, all of the tea. We're gonna talk about interviews. We're gonna talk about dressing for your interviews. We're gonna talk about answering questions. We're gonna talk about getting promotions. Like, I have so much mapped out for this channel. I'm super excited. Like I said in my first video, I've wanted to do this for so many years. I guess I just need to get used to actually talking to you guys. But hey, practice makes perfect. One thing I'm not gonna do is shortchange myself any longer. I'm gonna just start taking leaps of faith and do what I want to do. And if it works out, it's great, perfect. If it doesn't work out, then how do we get it to work out? That's the attitude going forward. And yeah, so thank you for watching my YouTube video. If you like this content, girl, learn how to talk. If you like this content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And then in the comments, let me know what else you'd like to know about me, what else you would like to see on my page. I don't know. Hey girl, thank you for coming.